There we go. Welcome to NX After Dark. I'm just fiddling around with things. It's been a while since I did this, so I can't figure it out anymore. Uh, anyways, um, I just had a long day, but now it's time to relax, enjoy some of my favorite tools. We're going to be adding a CI workflow using GitHub Actions and Workflows for an NX monorepo. It's an Angular workspace. There's only one app, but yeah. But it won't be Angular specific. It will be just a basic CI setup for NX. But for example, making use of the NX affected commands to optimize the workflows in pull requests. So let's see if I can figure this out. I'm working on this. It says NX Angular 2 of Heroes is on GitHub. My handle on GitHub is LazyDK. Should be able to find it. Almost everything I do is open source, even at my daytime job. So, hey Oscar, you're also up late. I was up 5 a.m. this morning. I went to work, then I took a first aid course for the first time in 15 years. So now I'm ready to save lives and do some teaching. By the way, I had a really great teacher for that first aid course. You can feel when a person is passionate about the topic they're teaching. Anyways, I'm on the main branch. Let's switch to, let's say, a CI feature branch and call it CI workflow. Okay, first thing for a GitHub workflow, we create a .github folder in the root of our repository. And inside of that, we will create a subfolder called workflows. And every YAML file in here, it's called ci.yaml or ci.yml, doesn't matter. And we can call it banana.yml. Everything will be considered a GitHub workflow, but let's call it ci.yml because it's for continuous integration at this point. There's no deployment yet. So, okay. I have to brush up on my skills now. Let's see. I gotta give it a name. It's the 2 of Heroes CI. I think we could give it a description, but we won't bother with that. Let's add some triggers. So we'll say on, and then on a pull request, this workflow will be triggered. This is one of the things to be aware of about GitHub workflows. They are not automatically triggered on pushes to a branch or commits being pushed to a pull request branch. You have to state that as a trigger in the workflow because GitHub workflows is about much more than just CI and CD and deployment pipelines. You can use it to automate all kinds of things. And as a JavaScript developer, you're in luck because JavaScript is a first-class citizen in creating custom GitHub actions, which are the steps of each job in each workflow. So there's 3 types of actions, and one of them is a Node.js script. One is the Docker container action, where you can use any technology, as you might imagine. And then the third one is the composite actions, where you can combine run steps or action calls with parameters that are used between many jobs or many workflows. So yeah, it's really... oh, is this the repo from Emilio Martinez? No, it's my repo. It started out as I downloaded the 2 of Heroes router tutorial from the Angular.io website, and then I split it into an NX repo. Let's just have a quick look. I've been doing a lot of offline work. I started out on this stream, but now it has evolved quite a lot. Because I was preparing a talk for NG Poland, which has unfortunately been postponed now, but I was experimenting with something for that talk, so I was using this repo. So now it's split into a grouping folder, a domain grouping folder called heroes that has all these libraries in them. The entry point is a feature shell, a shell library. The 2 of heroes app, of course, which has very little logic. The admin domain with the shell library, some shared libraries, and the crisis center domain with another shell library and features, data access, the domain library, authentication and authorization domain with a shell and a login feature, then some logging with a messages component, and some data access, so some state. So that's the 2 of heroes app, the router tutorial one, and I added additional features from the original 2 of heroes tutorial. Yeah, so I should share my stream when I explain things. Sorry, we'll take that one more time. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so there's one app project. It used to have all the code. Now it has very little code. All the logic is in libraries. There's all these domain grouping folders, admin, auth, crisis center, heroes, logging, and the shared grouping folder with some stuff. And in the dependency graph, it looks like so. We have heroes grouping folder, which is the domain grouping folder. The entry point is a shell library, which then routes to features that have some data access. There's a presentational library for the heroes page, and there's a domain library shared between them. And we have the admin feature or domain as well with a shell and some features, have the shared stuff. Then we have a crisis center domain with a shell, some features, data access, a domain library. We have auth with a shell that routes to a login feature, and we have some logging over here. So that's the architectural layout of this this workspace. It used to be just this one project. I split it into all these things, which is exactly what NX enables. Okay, back to the workflow. Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Oscar. Okay, so now this will be triggered by a pull request, but you can automate anything. There's triggers for, you can do it on a schedule, so every hour or every day, whatever. You can do it on every event in a Git repo or GitHub repo. There are action flows, actions, so you can trigger a workflow based on RSS feed or the weather API or something that happens on social media, or yeah, there's all tons of things you can do. Anyways, now we have it triggered for a pull request. We will also trigger it for what's called a workflow dispatch event, which is a manual trigger through the UI github.com. And finally on push, but this will only be on the main branch. So this means after when our PR is merged, it will also be triggered, and we will have special some steps only being run for merge and some only being run for a pull request. Okay, that's the triggers. Now we need some jobs, and first one, I don't know. Let's try a build, and this will, what is it called? Runs on, I think, Ubuntu latest, and then we'll have some steps. So first we need to use this, have a step that uses a GitHub action. So this will be actions / checkout version 2, I think. I'm doing this from memory, so we'll see whether it works. So yeah, because in some like Azure pipelines, it checks out the code into the CI runner automatically. Here we have to do it explicitly, saying we need the code to perform this job. Oh, we also need Node.js. There's already a Node.js installed on these runners, but we don't know which version, so we'll set up a specific version here. I think this is also version 2, and then we say width, which means some parameters. Node version. Then we'll have an environment variable called node version, and we'll specify that up here in the top. I don't think the order matters much. But this is YAML syntax, so it's basically similar to JSON objects, but with some fancy or not so fancy syntax, depending on your preference. All right, so node version is 16.x because then we can reuse that across jobs. Then we'll say we want to cache the node modules folder, and we are using, let's see, we're using yarn. So I'll say cache yarn, then it will set up caching mechanisms in the GitHub runners automatically, which will speed up the installation process significantly. You can tweak the cache key, but this is a good starting point, especially since it's very low effort. Okay, so once we have the code checked out and we have Node.js installed, what's the next thing to do? I guess now we'll do a build. So now, before we use the user syntax, that means we're running an action, GitHub action, and this would mean that we're going to github.com /actions/setup node. If we go to this address, we would see a GitHub repo, and that's actually where the action is being loaded from. So that's very nice. It has to be available. It has to be in a repo. It has to have some configuration files, and then GitHub Actions runners figure out the rest. Okay, so these were action steps, these two first ones. Now we'll have a run step, which is a terminal command. So anything goes. Let's start by, okay, so this repo is, for the build command, there's only one app right now, so there's no reason to use an nx run many commands. So we'll just say, let's see if we can reuse, if I set up scripts here. Yeah, nx build. I mean, ng works as well. It's being patched by this decorate Angular CLI script. So this one might work. Yeah, it probably does. So we'll say yarn build. And this is our first job. So let's actually commit this. Push it. We'll find the repo in a second. Here it is. And let me zoom in a lot. There. Okay. So now I can create a pull request here. Let's do that. And see if I create this pull request, what happens. Because, oh, nice. Yeah, so I definitely failed the trigger here because push should only be triggered on the main branch. And that should happen after merging the PR. And then there's some kind of failure, but let's first probably branches instead. push that. See what's happening then. Okay, now it's only the pull request event triggering a run, and then something fails. So let's see what that is. GitHub runners are really, really fast, and they are free for open source projects. So yeah, success in the setup. We checked out the code. We set up Node.js. Yeah, and then build. Something happened here. Oh, engine not found. Okay, so I actually forgot to run yarn install. So all dependencies. Oh, look at that. That's GitHub Copilot, by the way. Adding suggestions here. So if I press tab, boom, that's code to write. And it's really brilliant. It's this thing down here, the GitHub Copilot. It's currently in technical preview. You can sign up for the waiting list. It will be a paid product in the end, but I will never live without it from now on. And I've only been using it for a week or so. Oh, you love Copilot too? Yeah, man. I'm just very amazed by this product. I mean, sometimes it adds a little extra syntax, which breaks things, but most of the time it's working really well. So I'm very happy. And I'm going to demand a license from any future employer and my current one once this becomes a stable paid product. Anyways, so we need to install the dependencies as well, of course, and then call the build command. So let's see. Fix build job, hopefully. Let's commit and push. Go to the, where's my browser? There it is. So let's go back to the pull request. And let's refresh. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's see how fast it is this time. Now we're installing dependencies, and let's see. What's your guess? This is a NX, an Angular repo. I'll say 53 seconds. This is without a cache and using Yarn version 1. But then again, there's NGCC, so that might be another minute. Damn you, Angular compatibility compiler. Oh, and look at that. There's something here called NG Worker Spectacular. I wonder what that is. Okay, we're at 44 seconds. Oh, so already NGCC is running. So I figured 53 seconds for the whole thing before NGCC. Now we're at 53 with NGCC. It was around 42 seconds when this started. Oh, so that wasn't too bad. 14 seconds. But also because I'm not using any Angular libraries like Angular material, that would be a performance killer for the Angular compatibility compiler for sure. Yeah, okay, so now it's running build. And by the way, 58 seconds for dependencies, that was the first time. Next time it will be cached, and then it will be like 15 seconds or so. Yeah, now it's, yeah, okay, so it was a success. 26 seconds to do a production build. But it's also a medium, small, not the tiny, but a small app at this point with many chunks. Okay, so the setup node action was the one that also cached. So let's see here. Cache successful, 221 megabytes. That's the node modules folder, or rather, no, it's probably even the yarn cache folder. Yeah, this one. And then the node modules folder will be installed from that, which is the best way to do it. So it has defined this cache key, which is based on the package, the yarn log file. So if you install another dependency, upgrade a version, the cache will be busted. Usually I add several layers of fallback so that, okay, so maybe a dependency changed, but it's still the same Angular version, it's still the same Node version, so we can rely on restoring some of the dependencies, and other ones will be overwritten and then saved to the cache with that key. But yeah, this is a good start, especially since the only thing we did was use the set up node action and then tell it we're using yarn, please cache the dependencies. Okay, that's our first job, and I actually didn't think that the action would be run when opening a pull request with that workflow for the first time, but that might have changed. I was sure earlier it didn't trigger a workflow until it was merged initially. That means we can build job. That means we can add more jobs. So let's try that. What else do we need? We definitely need, let's say, a lint job. All right. So give it a name. Oh, thank you, GitHub Copilot, lint. It runs on Ubuntu. Yeah, thank you, GitHub Copilot. What do we need now? Oh, steps. Oh, what's this? Oh, look at that. Wow. Let's try that. GitHub Copilot told me to do it. So let's push that and see if GitHub Copilot understands GitHub Actions and workflows. Let's check this out. There we go. Boom, restoring the cache. Wow, that was fast. That was, okay, 8 seconds for the cache and Node.js, and then how much for dependencies? 10, 11, 13, 14, a bit more than 15 seconds. And then comes the Angular compatibility compiler, which we probably don't even need here. Yeah. So yeah, so this I would remove this post install hook for the jobs that don't really need it, because now we're just wasting 20 seconds on something we don't even need. I don't think we need. No, for linting jobs we shouldn't need Angular libraries. Okay, so something broke, but hopefully it's a lint gone wrong. Ah, no, that's not it. Okay. So, well, okay, Oscar, you have some questions or comments. I'll look at that in a second. Okay, so actually, it called the lint script, but this is just what Angular CLI created initially. So let's make this work. Oh, you know what? This is correct. The problem is my projects don't have any lint targets. So if we go to any project, there's no lint because this was initially using TSLint. I removed that, and I haven't added Angular ESLint yet. So we will we'll remove this for now. But GitHub Copilot generated all the code we needed, and it was working to the point that there were no lint targets. Okay, something else we need. Okay, what do we need here? We need, oh, test. How about test? Thank you, GitHub Copilot. Boom. Okay, now I want to make sure that this command's actually runs. So let's try yarn test locally, see what happens. I think I'm using Karma in this project because it's an Angular workspace I migrated, and I wanted to see what's the Karma experience like. And it's not using headless Chrome right now. I wonder which project this is. Oh, it's also not finishing. Okay. So it was working at least, but I think we need to do nx run many target test all projects and run it in parallel. Then let's go into nx.json and what's this option called? Here. Max parallel. I'll set it to, let's see. I'll set it to 6 because that works well locally for a hexacore machine. Even though it has 12 logical cores, I found that more than 6 parallel operations doesn't really work. That doesn't improve anything. So 6 is good for local, and then in CI, run many. Then in CI, we will also add max parallel is 2. That works well for the GitHub CI runners, the default ones. Yeah, so let's try adding this. See, I add test job. There's a typo in the script for test. Oh, that was probably run manu. Yeah, we'll see if this works. I can also try it locally now. But I might not have set it up well for Karma. I'm not sure it ever finishes for every project, or if it just keeps running. Oh, wow. Karma in parallel. I didn't think that was possible. I thought it used this same port. But no, it's using a different port. Interesting. I was unaware of this working out of the box. Now it's spinning up many browsers. I should definitely use Chrome headless, but it does seem to finish at some point, and then it moves on. Although there are not many, if any, tests right now. I'm working on those in a branch instead. All right, Oscar, let's look at your comments while this is running. After running npm install on the project, got the following error: nx error, could not find nx modules in this workspace. nx modules. What's an nx module? Yeah, that doesn't tell me anything. Here, nx error, declaration of the Angular CLI did not complete successfully. So that is the, if we see here in, is there a post install script here somewhere? There it is. It's calling node decorate Angular CLI. So that's this file. It goes in and does so that every time you run an ng command within this repository, it will call nx behind the scenes instead. So this is the error message here that you saw. Oh, man, I should share my screen. Okay, here's the post install script. It calls decorate Angular CLI.js, which has this error message in the button, the bottom of the file. Decoration of the Angular CLI did not complete successfully. So it's failing on the symlink ng CLI to nx CLI. I don't know what could cause that to fail. Oh, I have some failing tests here. That's interesting. That's why we need the CI set up right. Okay. Okay, things are running here. Let's try to go back to GitHub and back to the pull request. And now that's build. What about, should have a test job now as well. Yeah, build went well, test. Let's look at test. It's running. That's strange. Might be karma. I haven't really done NX parallel with karma before, so I might need some additional setup for that. So I will remove the parallel option. Say max parallel 1. First, no, actually, yeah, this is. Let's remove it altogether. I don't really like it. It's opening a ton of tabs here as well. I don't really like that. So let's remove the parallel option. Run them sequentially instead. And I'm really getting tired of not using headless Chrome. Oh, that's probably also, that might actually be the reason why it's failing. Yeah, we should use headless Chrome. So what's the easiest way to do that? Browsers, Chrome headless, maybe. Is that the right command for karma? Let's see. Yeah, Chrome headless. Okay, that might work better for also for the CI server. Which makes running in parallel. Apparently, it can work. So even for karma. So let's go back to the repo here. And a new run of this test job. Luckily, it's pretty fast, right? Only ngcc is slow. Get on to the good part. And now for ngcc. Oh, error was solved when you ran the installation with Yarn. Okay, great. Great stuff. It might also be if you accidentally upgraded to NPM version 7, because Angular CLI or ngcc doesn't support modern package layouts. So it doesn't support pnpm very easily. It doesn't support Yarn 2 with plug and play, and doesn't support npm 7. So we're stuck on old versions, Yarn 1 and npm 6 or lower when using Angular currently. Unless every library is partially Ivy compiled, so we don't need the ngcc compiler. Okay, now tests are running. But yeah, it's complaining about something with ngcc. Man, NTCC sucks. Okay, things are running. They are coming like they're showing up out of order or some like in between several test runs, but at least it will finish a bit faster, hopefully. Karma is slow, just would be a lot faster. But I wanted the Karma experience to see what it's like in an NX repo. Not very good, but it works. Yeah, I wonder if it will finish. Oh, there were some more tests. Oh, you can see it running like batches of 2 because we have max parallel set to 2 on the GitHub CI. Did it ever finish with me? No. Luckily, it didn't finish yet. Still running. Okay, assuming that works, what's the next thing we need? This GitHub pilot deploy is suggested by GitHub Copilot. That would be a good one. How about end-to-end? I think I removed end-to-end testing from this repo, so yeah, that's going to have to work. Wait for some other time. But yeah, deploy. We don't have a place to deploy right now, but so we're actually finished this workflow. At least that's the basic commands. But then now we should consider using the NX affected commands. And this is where it gets interesting. So yeah, that makes sense for test. It makes sense for linting. So let's see. We need some kind of environment variable saying is main branch, and could be GitHub ref. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. No, not master. Main. And let's prefer single. I think main branch. Okay, is pull request. Wow, thank you, GitHub Copilot. That looks correct. And now use single quotes. Oh, great. Okay, so we can use those conditions. Let's keep this thing running in the background. So now we want to say, now we need, to use the affected command. I think NX has a new GitHub action for that. So I'll copy that in from here. It's called, the action is called narwhal, NX set SHAs. And I don't know if there are any parameters. I could check. I could just go to this address. But let's just see if this works. This sets up so that you can use the NX affected command. So let's check here. We want the affected test. So test, we also want parallel. Parallel is not working well, but we want browsers, Chrome headless. Yeah. Okay, so merge will be, now we need a quote because we're using this colon character. Most of the time, you don't need to put strings in quotes in YAML, which is kind of nice. If you add a colon, you will need to put it in quotes. Can be single quotes or double quotes. So merge, test all projects. That's the command we already have. What if we do PR test affected projects? Run. That might work, but we have affected test. Parallel 2, yeah. Okay, so now we need, if this works, we now need the conditions. So if, wow, good guess. GitHub Copilot to the rescue. Unless, what? Can you say unless? I don't know. But anyways, what I want is if is pull request. Yeah, that's the one, GitHub Copilot. Thank you. Hello, Nacho. I'm using all my favorite technologies, Angular, NX, GitHub Workflows, GitHub Copilot, GitHub Actions, all the good stuff. Setting up an NX workflow, CI workflow, or an Angular workspace right now. And GitHub Copilot is helping me. Okay, so add PR test step. Before committing that or before pushing that, let's see if it ever finished up here. Okay, so parallel might not work very well for Karma because it's been running and running and running. There might be a better plugin for running things in parallel, many projects. I don't know. I'll try to disable parallel from at least in the CI. So make parallel 1, or can even be parallel false. Because I do want to run parallel locally. No, I actually don't want that when using Karma. It didn't seem to work very well. So let's just remove the parallel parameter from the test script. Never even finished here locally, and I have a pretty powerful machine. Remove parallel or table test parallelization. Close enough. I don't know if that's spelled 100%. Okay, let's check here. Refreshing. Wait, that's not the latest. Did I not push? No, apparently not. There we go. Are you using the new NX GitHub action? Yes, I am. The one that enables NX affected without having to do manual things, which I have been doing for a while. Okay, come on, actions. Let's see if some are left running in our repo. Yeah, so we can just cancel these. We're not really interested in them anymore. And apparently it's taking a long time with Karma parallel without, I don't know, maybe there's a parallel plugin for Karma that would be better. I don't know. Yeah, so this should finish up in a minute. Then we can get some runners again. Oh, here we go. Let's look at test. Now it should. What's this? Operation was canceled. Oh. Man, I canceled the one I needed. Oh, that sucks. Can I do... Oh yeah, this is what I'm unable to do. I can't run it manually before it has been merged one time. So now I have to, I don't know, I basically have to add another commit to trigger. So I'm going to maybe move this post install hook up here. To trigger workflow. GitHub Copilot has surprised me a lot lately. Yeah, been using it for about a week, and I'm amazed. It really supports my work well. I tried tab 9 and it sucked on my machine, at least. It was giving me snippets from other languages and irrelevant snippets even, so I uninstalled it. Tried it a few times, didn't work. And then GitHub interviewed me for tooling because I had been using IntelliCode for a while, which is intelligent auto-completion. And they were asking me what would be great about, like, imagine the best version of something like this possible. And I said, well, it should be able to understand Angular code, for example, because giving me JavaScript or TypeScript snippets doesn't help me much when most of the boilerplate is related to Angular. And they were like, oh, well, this would, we're working on something, and that might be interesting. And then here we are later this year, and now they have GitHub Copilot, and it's really, yeah, you'd be surprised the things that it suggests and how accurate they are a lot of the time. Okay, so installing dependencies, that did work, and then the NX action, what failed? Not a valid object name origin main. Okay, so there might be something else we need to do. Let's go to the repository. We probably need to have the fetch depth or something. github.com/narwhal/set jars, and let's look at the documentation here. Oh, yeah, fetch depth 0. Okay, because we need history. Oh yeah, I forgot something else as well. I forgot. Yeah. Okay, going back. We definitely need here in checkout, we need to add some parameters. Zeros. We'll leave this comment. And then one more thing is in the affected job. Say the base is env environment.nx head, and that should be set. Now, why would it be head? Should be base, right? Yeah, that's the type. I'm looking at an article from the Narwhal blog, and this must definitely be a typo in the GitHub version. So this is it. And head, I mean, I shouldn't have to add the head. No, this should be good. Let's try this. They have an example. Yeah, there was an example in documentation. I was looking at an article by Miroslav Jonas, the Narwhal blog, but let's look at this. I forgot that parameter. There's GitHub. See if it's working. Can you share that documentation? Sure. Here's the action repo. Should be here now in the YouTube comment, and here's this blog post from the Novel blog about, which mentions this action. There's also whatever it's called for Circle CI orbs or something. There's also one available there. Let's look at how it's going now. Yeah. Okay. NX base, NX head. Some commit. Okay. No, merge. Merge shouldn't be run. It should be PR. Something went wrong. I blame it on GitHub Copilot. Ref. Oh. Should do it like so. Yeah, this has messed me up many times. You have to specifically compare to the true value. Evaluates to false. Evaluate to true. How would it know that? Oh, let's see here. Let's see. Another run. And now we should see this merge test all projects. This step should be skipped. There will be a kind of a slash in this icon. Then it should perform the PR test affected projects step. After Angular compatibility compiler. Okay. Nacho, you tried to share the URL. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't allow that. So other people were not able to see it. Only I can add URLs. So sorry about that. Here we go. Okay, so now it's running serially, one project at a time with Karma. No? Two still? I thought I disabled parallel. You can create the end-to-end project as follows. Yeah, so there's probably a generator for that. I just don't care too much about end-to-end tests. I only use them for very specific things. And then integration feature tests, component tests, or things like that for the rest. Seems like there's still some parallelization going on. I thought I disabled parallel. Let's look here at. Oh, so NX is actually picking up the NX head environment variable by default. That's interesting. So I might not even have to add this base parameter at all. Cool. Wait. Seems like it's still running in parallel. So I'll try to turn it off explicitly. So also far affected. And let's try it out locally. One at a time, please. Okay, it's a pain with authentication. End-to-end tests. Yeah, there are ways to get around that depending on your strategy. One way is to have a fake authentication server if possible. Another way is to call the HTTP requests rather than logging in every test. Of course, have an end-to-end test for the full login flow, but all the other tests can then get an access code, token, or whatever using HTTP requests. If you want the full flow, like the full experience of a user actually being logged in, if you can't fake it in a fake authentication server or something. Okay. So, question: is it running serially now? It might do. Okay. You assumed something from CI monorepo, CI GitHub Actions doc page. What is that? No idea what that is. You use Puppeteer to run as task for end-to-end tests. Okay. For authentication. True end-to-end test for critical authentication flow, then the other tests can have marked off. Yeah, that's one option, definitely. Or maybe you can make an HTTP request to get an access token quickly without having to go through all the login pages and so on. That's a few of the options. But yeah, the login and logout is a good example of what should be done using end-to-end tests. I also just wrote one for making sure that translation, like language selection, works in an app, because it's difficult to set up everything. We're using Transloco. There's a testing module for that and so on, but I haven't figured it out yet. But the assets are split into different libraries in that NX repo, so it's just difficult to get it all working. I mean, yeah, I could import it from that library as the JSON file, then I have to set up additional TypeScript configuration, and I didn't bother to do that yet. So the end-to-end test that language selection works is also great to have anyways. Okay, so karma sucks. Let's agree on that. And don't know if I just want this a test job to complete. Come on, man. Disable parallel tests, hopefully, or I'll end up switching to Jest at some point. Because this sucks. Like 6 minutes for almost 0 tests. What's going on? This is ridiculous. Ciao. Can you help us get a better karma experience with NX? That would be great. Or we can just use Jest. Let's try it out this time. Yeah. Okay, so while this is running, let me show you something. What I did at work. Well, first I actually did it for the NG Workers monorepo. Now I'm using it at work. See if I can find it. Here it is. Our work is open source. So if we go to our workflows and we find the one for my team's app, I created, let's see, here, I created an NX affected job. So it outputs a Boolean value, whether something is affected or not. And then I can reuse that value for the other job. So I only have to run it once. If I created an action, I would have to run the same action for every step. So I figured this could be faster. I don't know. Yeah, so fetch step 0 and some other things. Fetching the base branch. And then some caching for yarn. Disabling that stupid ngcc. Installing dependencies, and now I can finally run. I created an affected action. So here is where I'm asking, is this project affected? And then the name of my app, the project name, and the base. If I'm on the main branch, it will be the next to latest commit it will compare against. Otherwise, it will be the base branch for the pull request. Yeah, so after all of this finishes, then in the other steps I can do, if is affected is true, then this job will run. Because this is a monorepo, we have 2 apps and a design system, and we have a .NET backend, or backend for frontend, an API gateway. So I don't want other teams' stuff to affect my app. So this workflow is for my app, and then we have a common one for the NX run many commands and so on. That's always being run. But here, this workflow is only being run whenever, which will build and deploy my app. It will only be run when this app is affected. So that would be a nice idea for an official action from now, an affected action. The action is in here. The one doing the stuff is, here's the configuration, has some input parameters, project and base, and it has an output is affected, which will be true or false. So it's running a Node.js script. I should probably have created a JavaScript action instead, but that's running on Node 12. And I wanted to use ES modules. So basically, the logic is in here. So it's running NX affected apps, the plain format output, and it's running NX affected libs, and then it's basically combining those two. So it will check that it's a valid project name, and then it will calculate all the affected projects, and then it will check does the affected project names include the ones you're asking about, and then it will log that to the output, which will be processed back as an output parameter in the end here. This one. So yeah, that's it. And that works. That works well so far. Allows us to have a monorepo with a workflow separately per app for building and deploying. And then we have a common one for the NX workspace where all these things are being done, like building, end-to-end tests, formatting, linting, testing. Yeah, that's all the common tasks. So it's also doing conditional runs based on PR or main branch. And then it has an optimized caching for the yarn cache. But here we see a similar thing, right? As what we're creating right now. Okay, I wonder if it's done. No, not yet. Karma sucks, at least for many projects. I don't know. I wonder. No, combining it in one Karma project would also defeat the purpose of NX and splitting out into libraries. Okay, I see some comments by Chow. Let's see. Book is great. Thank you. I've been recommending it. Thank you again. And the book is called Accelerating Angular Development with Ivy. You can find it on Amazon and Packed and lots of local vendors as well. What does the script do? I guess that's the affected one you're asking about. Pretty comprehensive. You use TJ actions change files for now. Okay, well, I use NX affected, but it should be built in. Okay. So, okay, but this is the last thing we need. We could also add formatting checks. Don't want to do that right now. If testing works, let's close this PR. And then some other time we can add linting. And maybe end-to-end tests eventually. Yeah. So this is taking forever. How about locally? Still not done there either. That really sucks. If you have any tips for speeding this up, please let me know. So let's keep that running. I don't know. I really want to have it finish. Let's waste some time until then. Let's look at the other branch I'm working on. I had some stashed work. So, oh, now I messed up the tests. Now I'm on a different branch. Oh, whatever. Okay, so let's fire up Wallaby. That's my test tool that gives inline feedback quickly on tests. Let's see if it can run in this repo. Oh, this is the one that has an issue with. It can't figure out NX and Karma Wallaby, so I should submit an issue for that. Yeah, that sucks. That's my favorite tool. And then combine that with GitHub Copilot, and you have a really powerful tool chain. Okay, so let's look at the tests, if I can find some. This one is interesting. So I'm using testing library, the Angular one by Tim Disriver, and the user event one, which is a generic one for testing library. And this test suite is for testing all my lazy loaded routes for this Two of Heroes app. So I'm navigating to each one of them and making sure I can see the title on each page. And this runs in, there's one that has to wait for a few seconds because there's a simulated delay for logging in. It's using a fake in-memory web API or something. So I cannot get that time down without removing that delay. But the other ones are running fast, like 15 milliseconds a piece or something like that. That's pretty quick for loading and testing an entire, or at least the entry point of each lazy loaded chunk. So now I know that all the main routes are working just based on this test suite. And Yeah, it's even like testing libraries using accessible semantic HTML queries and so on, or DOM queries. So we're also testing that it's accessible, at least to some degree. So that was one interesting one. I'm working on other ones. Let's see. What do we have here? This might be the normal ones from Angular. Yeah, just a very one that doesn't do much. Is there one that I wrote? This one maybe. Yeah, these are also ones from Angular documentation. How about this one? This is one is using testing library and Spectacular for this page feature, lazy loaded feature module. So we're using render from Angular testing library. We're returning the view. Normally you would use the screen export from testing library like so, but in Karma you should use the returned view instead. Otherwise it gets confused with what's the Jasmine DOM or the Karma DOM and what's the app DOM. Okay, so we're using the Spectacular app component that comes with Spectacular. Then we're importing Spectacular feature testing module with the feature. We're telling it which feature module we want to test and the path it's using, which comes from a different variable. And then we're adding the route for this feature is really complicated because it's the routing tutorial. So we have many aliases or top-level routes, and they don't share a common prefix, so that's pretty special. And there are redirects as well. And then we have a page not found as well. So we can go to the default route, and it will list all the heroes. These are the tests that were already a part of the, I don't know, a testing tutorial or something on Angular.io, and then I converted them to using testing library and Spectacular. So they're not that interesting. So I guess that's what I'm working on is more of integration or feature tests. I guess these tests, they suck. They don't test too much. Yeah, but anyways, they are testing as a user. We don't see any components or services being mentioned, and we're not faking anything. So it's actually testing all our code as it is in the app. Nothing's mocked out or stopped. So that's great. Even the routes are being tested. Even the HTTP client is being tested. There's only a fake backend. That's the only fake thing about this. And it's not spinning up the entire app. It's only testing this one module, which is the interesting part about using Spectacular feature tests. Yeah, and you'll have to wait with the other one for the better tests for some other time. Let's see if it finished. It didn't. Oh. Well, that sucks. I'm going to close this stream for now. Hopefully it finishes, and then I'll merge this PR. Job, disabled lint job because of no lint targets, and test jobs. And do you have anything else? I guess not. Oh. Okay, that will be it for today. Maybe we can take another look at the workflow we ended up creating. Here it is. So it has a name which shows up in GitHub UI right here. And also if we go directly to the Actions tab, we show up here, so we can filter on that name, see the ones currently running and previously running. And let's cancel these ones. Wow, Karma might really have messed up GitHub workflows for being so slow. That's annoying. Anyways, we had a few variables to determine is this manually triggered on the main branch, or is it a merge to main? And second one is this a pull request? Yes or no? In our Node.js version 16x, are we on Angular 13? No, we're not. So that's not officially supported by Angular 12, but seems to work for now. We're triggering on every pull request on every branch. We're triggering manually with the workflow dispatch event. We allow that. We're allowing a merge to the main branch to trigger this workflow as well. We have a build job, runs on Ubuntu and the GitHub runners. Check out the code, set up Node.js, we enable yarn caching, then we install the dependencies, and then we run the build script. So we have a lint job here, but we don't have any lint configurations yet, so it's not enabled. And we have a test job. Similar thing, runs on Ubuntu, checks out the code, but now to use NX affected, we're using fetch depth 0. We're then setting up Node.js 16, yarn caching, installing the dependencies as before, and then this now was NX set SHAs so that we can use NX affected. For a merge run, we will test all the projects just to make sure. But for PR, we will test only the affected projects. So that was it. And I don't know, it'll be finished tomorrow sometime. I don't know. There's a lot of projects at this point. Look, 27 projects, and I have no idea which one is being run right now. Oh, 2 of here's app test. Where was that in the list? Here. Okay, what was running before that? Admin feature shell test. Okay. I don't know. It's definitely not 27 projects here, so there's a lot still to go. I'll keep it running, and thank you for today. See you some other time.